Gosh, I'm like as bad as like old vlog brother videos where they're like, the doobly-doo is somewhere, and I'm like... Hey everyone! So, this is my first check-in on my project Pan. With this, it's been only about 22 days since I filmed my intro, so I don't have nearly as much use on my products as others do. I still think I made pretty good progress. I also didn't really do as much combining of the different shadows as much. There was a couple of combos I used a lot. Today, this look, I know it looks a little rough generally because I've worn this all day. It is currently 8 p.m. I put this on at about 8 a.m. so this is about 12 hours of wear. I redid the look a little bit, just re-put on a little bit more on the lids and the inner corner just because things had worn off, especially like I wore glasses. I was rubbing my eyes a bit just generally, so that all affects it. But I'll go in and immediately say I didn't hit pan on any of the eyeshadows that I have in my rotation. You can see the rotation right here. It's a very warm toned palette. I have the one kind of cool toned like light pink color. That one has thrown it off a bit, but I've made it work. I've also come up with some really good looks. You can see here, which is one of my go-tos, that is using Outgoing, which is, as you can see over here, that's the yellow. Then using Steampunk, which is the gold. You can see, wrong one. You can see here, those are the two that I use a lot together. They work really well together, and with using those two, I end up using a lot from my Sultry palette, which is great. So now that I kind of explained things and I showed one of my go-to looks now, let's go into the uses, because I have been keeping track of the uses. First one on my list is Steampunk, which you can see here is that gold shade. Very sparkly, very intense. At one point I tried to use it as a highlighter. Don't use it as a highlighter, or at least on me as a pasty white girl. That looked like just dirt on my cheek. With Steampunk, I have used it a total of 7 times. You can see right here I'm using it as an inner corner highlight. You can see in the video I have made a little bit of dent. I forgot originally to take photos of what they looked like, and so this one did have some use. I think it was my most used shimmer shade in my Sultry palette, but I haven't hit pan on it yet. I've never hit pan on any sort of shimmery shade, so we'll see how that goes. The next one that I have used a lot, it's one that I actually think I've used a little bit more than Steampunk. Actually, no, I theoretically have used it the same amount, but it's one that I reach for a lot and I dip into a lot more, is Outgoing, which is the matte yellow shade from the Period ABH Cosmetic palette. This one, you look at it, I never used it before. I have had 7 uses. So it's I'm not going to say a hard pressed, but I don't know how deep the pans are. I just am not sure, but it's been going. I really like it. It's a very smooth formula. Angelica is right on point on her recommendations for this. I've used it with a couple of other looks too. There's one look, don't think I have a photo of it, but I was using more of that Pure Dot palette and I had the eyeliner from Alamar Cosmetics and I thought that looked really good. Okay, so the next one that I have used is Gilded, which, similar to Outgoing, I had never used. The first time I even touched it was when I'd swatched it for this video. That shadow I have used 4 times. This one has been a little bit more of a challenge because it is cooler toned than the rest. Most of these shadows lean a little bit more warm toned, or it's yellow. There's only so many things you can do with it. So I need to play around with it more. Maybe it would be interesting to play with Outgoing and Gilded, have the 2 of them together. As you can see here, I have, in this little video, I'm trying to show that there is some use. Photo over here doesn't show it as well. Blaze, this one has been a hard one for me to use. Before today, I'd only used it twice. Today is the 3rd time I've used it. Both of the shadows from the Dreamland palette are flakier, and I get a decent amount of glitter fallout. It's not seeming to be my favorite formula. It's a little dark also for me to do a one shadow look. It's already a little dark on my lids today, and for what I usually like to wear things, I like to have a much brighter color on the lid. One of the ways that I may play around with it more is using it as just like the outer third, kind of I deepen up the corner and then I pack it and then have it transition into Steampunk. I tried that actually with a different shadow in the Sultry palette, so I may just switch it and so I can use it more because I've only used it 3 times. Lastly, I've used the Maraschino 3 times. Hopefully this month I'm going to be using it a little bit more because it's February, it's Valentine's Day, I can do a bunch of the red looks. I like red on me, but it's quite intense, and that makes me want to work my entire outfit around it. That is the thing. I usually like to at least semi-coordinate my outfits with my eyeshadow. So with that, I've used a decent amount. This is also what this project has made me really explore my collection generally. So even on those days where I'm doing my makeup and I'm not using stuff from this pan, those eyeshadows, I am exploring different things. I've actually had a bit more of a dent on this shade Red Bottoms from ColourPop. Don't know if you can see it here. That is because, especially if I've been wearing maraschino, I will use Red Bottoms kind of as the outer corner or use it on the lash line. I've been using like a liner brush and just using powder instead of using a liquid liner if I'm not doing a wing or something. So that's been one of those things with my Sultry palette, because as I've mentioned before, I want to hit pan on every single shadow. Exciting news, because I was generally reaching into this palette more as I was working with these other shades. As of yesterday, so January 31st, because I'm filming on February 1st, I have hit pan on Twig. And it was a pretty substantial pan from the second I hit it. I had a feeling it was getting quite thin. I think the next one I'm probably going to hit pan on is Birch. I don't know if you can see it here, but on the edge there is a good chunk of there's a decent dip right there. The last one that I think I will probably hit pan on in the next couple of months will be Noir, because I use it as a liner a lot. I used it as a liner today, so using that eyeliner brush kind of drills a tiny hole in there. I'm not trying to artificially use it up, but I find it easier just to use this because A, I can get more fun colors, B, it's using up some of these darker shades that I don't typically use because I'm not usually doing super dramatic looks as much. Lastly, want to show some of the bigger exciting looks that I had done over the past 3 weeks with the eyeshadows from my project. So I already showed you what one of my go-to looks, and usually I was using some variation of that. So if I'm looking at this look, that was a go-to. I had Outgoing on the crease and blowing it out, one of the brown shades from my Sultry palette. So either Birch, Twig, or Dystopian. And then typically I'll put on my lid Steampunk. Like that was a go-to look, and then using Noir as the liner. Today, like I mentioned, I'm using Blaze instead, but still Noir. One of the other looks that I did that I really, really enjoyed was this one right here. I had it for my IKEA trip. That one was me really utilizing the pinks and reds that I had. So with that one, I was using a couple of the different shades from my main Squeeze palette. I believe I included things like Frosé and maybe a little bit of Like It Hot, and I think I tried some of this Seed Money, and definitely I was using Red Bottom both as a outer corner and a little bit smoking it into a liner. And then I used, for the good chunk of the eye, maraschino. That's how I got used to that. And then I used Gilded. I really liked that look. It was a very red look. It was fun. I had on like just a white turtleneck, blue corduroy pants, and I was walking around IKEA having a grand old time. The other look that was really enjoyable, you saw it in my weekly vlog for week 4, was look I did that Wednesday. I used Outgoing kind of all around except on the outer portion, which again I was using colors from the main Squeeze palette. I don't fully remember which ones. And then I know I used a little bit of Red Bottoms again to kind of darken it. I probably was using Frosé again because it's a good kind of light crease color that I can buff out, and then mixing those two with Outgoing as it went further in. And so then in this look I used maraschino kind of on the outer third of my lid. The next one I used was Juicy Fruit, which is one of my favorite shades in this palette. It has got a little bit of a duochrome with it. Yeah, it's got a bit of a duochrome. It's a gold to red. You can kind of, because in the pan it looks gold, but it's actually, it has some red shift to it. I love that one. And then I used Steampunk. That was one of my favorites. I got a lot of compliments on it, and I just was really enjoying playing around with it. That one also, I like to joke, is my big stick eyeshadow look, because when I did it, it reminded me of the Big Sticks, which is a popsicle that we would get in elementary school for this like field day sort of thing where we'd do like laps, and we'd spend like the entire morning, afternoon just like doing these laps, and we'd get check marks, and it was a fundraiser thing, kind of getting us up and moving. And at the end of the day, we'd get popsicles, and it was always the Big Sticks, and that is what like this looks reminds me of. And it's kind of that inspiration that I enjoy of having those different looks. I may at some point do the OSP pins as makeup looks because it sounds fun. I kind of did one look earlier. You can see it here. Gosh, I'm like as bad as like old vlog brother videos where they're like, the doobly-doo is somewhere. I mean, now it's just like all down in the doobly-doo, but it used to be all over the place back in the day. Because yes, I have watched all of the vlog brother videos. I did this one look for Saturday and I really enjoyed it. It was inspired by the Neptune look and just, it was fun. I got most of the pins, so my idea is kind of, as I'm playing around with my makeup more, doing look of those different pins to play around with different color stories because I stay typically monochrome. So doing that my big sticks look is a little bit out of my comfort zone, but I really want to work on that. Those are my shadows. Probably next week I will have something more to report on, either having hit pan on one of the shadows, which I'll be honest, I highly doubt because most of these were untouched, or being able to roll things out because I've used them to that like the 15 use and I kind of want to play around with more in my collection. That's the biggest thing with this project is I'm making myself use my collection. And I think also in the idea of rolling them out, I'm totally okay with rolling them back in the next month or a couple of months later, just wanting to get that rotation in because I do have a decent number of palettes for one person. I've only got 2 eyes, so there's only so much I can do. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to these videos as there will be more videos coming up both of makeup content and of lifestyle content and of grad school content, which, I mean, grad school is kind of my lifestyle right now, but I'm trying to come up with a personality besides grad student. But we'll see how that goes.